Thank you for joining us for brief training on Bill 168 and the AODA, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, focusing on customer service. Please use your mouse to click as you're ready to move to the next slide. Bill 168 covers occupational health and safety, as well as workplace violence and harassment, and also domestic violence in the workplace. Bill 168 is an amendment to the Occupational Health and Safety Code. Organizations have a general duty to take every reasonable precaution to ensure safety. With Bill 168, the Occupational Health and Safety Code now has several new additions, such as workplace violence, domestic violence, gossiping, stalking, discrimination, bullying, and harassment. Violence refers to any attempt or threat of violence, including any behavior that an individual could reasonably interpret as a threat, such as hitting, pushing, verbal or written threats, including emails or shaking of fists. With new technology, the definition of violence has expanded. Behaviors we used to think of as just being rude in the past are now reclassified as violent. For example, the definition of violence now includes threats via email. There is a zero tolerance for violence within most organizations. Domestic violence and stalking. As we redefine violence, we're now including things like domestic violence and stalking. These used to be considered personal problems, but now they've been added to the definition of violence with zero tolerance. Domestic violence does not stop when someone attends a peer support group. It may affect other participants, especially if they have an emotional connection with the individual or have personal experience with domestic violence. As the facilitator, it's your responsibility to discuss the issue with the individual to ensure the safety of the group. In some cases, additional steps may be required. In addition to domestic violence, stalking is a serious behavior. Facilitators should be notified so that they can offer additional support to the individual and ensure the safety of the group. The police may need to be involved in cases of stalking. Discrimination and harassment. It's important to create an open and inviting environment for all potential participants attending peer support groups. The actions of the group and the facilitator are important. Ensuring that behaviors are in line with the Human Rights Code is a minimum expectation. Discrimination based on the following is considered unacceptable: race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, sex, creed, sexual orientation, age, marital status, family status, same-sex partner, or disability. Harassment. Increasingly, society has been broadening the scope of and definition of harassment. Harassment is defined by any unwelcome contact, whether that's verbal, physical, visual, or environmental. Further, it is now generally recognized that the victim's perception plays the critical role in defining whether or not harassment has occurred. The first course of action is for the receiver of harassment to address the individual who has been harassing them. If this fails to resolve the issue, they should bring the issue to the attention of the facilitator. Gossiping and bullying. In the past, this type of behavior is just considered rude behavior. Now it's considered more serious. The definition of gossiping is a casual or unconstrained conversation or reports about other people, typically involving details that are not confirmed as being true. Gossiping can affect the individual and the peer support group. Gossiping is disrespectful behavior, which can be hurtful to the individual being gossiped about. It's also damaging to the interpersonal relationships and disruptive to the peer environment, ultimately leading to erosion of morale and motivation within the group. If a facilitator permits gossiping or bullying in the peer environment, it will likely become detrimental to the group. Procedure. The MDAO has its own internal policy and procedure for Bill 168 incidents. It includes discussion of formal and informal follow-up procedures. For formal complaints, an incident report form is used to clearly document the incident. Formal investigations are conducted by the executive director. Peer support groups can develop their own policy and procedure or refer to the MDAO materials upon request. If you'd like to see our in-house procedure and incident report, please contact us for a copy. A summary of Bill 168. Organizations are adopting a zero policy for violence of all types. Facilitators have the right to make decisions in the moment. It may be more appropriate to refer customers to other groups in the area if there are situations that have become difficult to deal with. Please feel free to contact the MDAO for further discussion. More information is available on the Ministry website linked here. We are now transitioning from Bill 168 to the AODA, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Please just click your mouse to move to the next screen. The AODA. The goal of the AODA is to address and remove barriers for those accessing services, programs, or goods for persons with disabilities. The AODA is made up of various components including accessible customer service. Providing superior customer service to people with disabilities means providing service in a way that best preserves an individual's dignity, maintains an individual's independence, allows full integration with products and services, and provides equal opportunities. Within our organizations, the customers are those attending peer support groups, attending recovery groups, attending distinguished speakers events, or other events. The AODA also refers to integrated accessibility standards, which includes information, customer service, transportation, and employment. The third component is the built or physical environment in which peer support groups take place. Categories of disability and terminology. So what does a disability look like? A disability is an impairment lasting more than 1 year. Some of the most common categories of disabilities are vision loss, hearing loss, physical impairments, mental health problems, and learning, speech, or language impairments. Terminology is primarily important as it shows respect to the individual and ensures that we use common language. To show respect, it's important to focus on the person and not the disability. So for example, consider referring to a person as having a physical disability, not as being handicapped, and refer to a person as having vision loss, not as being blind. Best practices. In sharing best practices for customer service for individuals with disabilities, the common issue is one of respect. It is always okay to ask a person their preference. Always adjust the customer service style to the client's preference. For individuals with vision loss or hearing loss, please keep your hands away from your mouth or face, making it easier for the individual to see or hear what you are saying. For individuals with learning disabilities, please allow additional time for them to complete their tasks. Also stay with the individual until the end of the transaction in case there are additional questions. Barriers and assistive devices. Physical barriers to accessibility can also affect peer support groups. It's important to think ahead to accommodate individuals with disabilities. Possible physical barriers include things like small, cluttered areas, peer support rooms cluttered with chairs, any type of physical barrier that affects wheelchair accessibility. Assistive devices include any tool that helps an individual with a disability to manage more easily. Assistive devices can be anything. They are typically personalized for use by the individual with a disability and include smartphones, software, canes, or wheelchair, but the list is unlimited. In most cases, the person with the disability will provide the assistive device themselves. On occasion, you may be asked to assist. Interveners, support people, and service animals. Interveners and support people and service animals are often used by individuals with disabilities. Always look and address your questions to the client, not the intervener or support person. Support people can be anyone, such as a friend or a family member, while interveners are typically professionals. There are many types of service animals, including cats, dogs, and even iguanas. They are all legitimate. If you ever have a question about the legitimacy, feel free to ask for documentation verifying that the animal is a service animal. Most people will carry it with them. Service disruptions. Superior customer service should be what we strive for on a day-to-day basis. In unexpected circumstances, thinking like a customer can ensure things go smoothly. For example, a common service disruption could be a broken elevator. In this case, you should notify people of the inconvenience by posting a notice outside the elevator before entering the building and next to the elevator at the ground level. It's also best to call those with appointments or who have regularly attended peer support groups if you have their phone numbers. This is just one way of thinking through how superior customer service could be offered from the customer perspective. Summary for the AODA. The Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act focuses on providing a high level of customer service for people with a broad spectrum of disabilities. Recognize that there are both visible and invisible disabilities. It's important to respect individual preferences, so just ask. For more information, you can visit the Ministry website, which is linked here. Thank you for watching the webinar. Next, we ask you to complete a very short and simple online quiz, just so we have a record that you have watched the webinar. When you complete the quiz, we'll get back to you with confirmation and send your certificate of completion. We also register your group as having achieved the Bill 168 training requirement for MDAO provincial affiliates. For the link to the quiz, click here.